When I was a boy, heaven was here. You could be anything, you could do anything. Listen to have discovered this.
If you don't speak for them, who will?
This is a true story that reveals the dark side of football that can endanger the lives of its players. Meanwhile, football is a very popular game in America. Of course, revealing the truth is very risky because it has to deal with millions of fans and giant sports businessmen. However, for the sake of humanity and strong determination, a great doctor was able to do it, rather than other doctors who chose to remain silent. How's the story? Let's break it down. This is Concussion. One day, a man named Mike Webster appeared. In the past, he was one of the best American football players of his time. He even became a legend at his club, the Pittsburgh Steelers. This club originates from the city of Pittsburgh, but now, Mike has retired from the world of sports. At that time, he was receiving the highest award in the world of American football, namely the Hall of Fame. In his speech, he shared a little about his experience as a professional player. He revealed that actually, football is not as fun as many people imagine. While defending his club, he often felt excruciating pain due to hard physical impacts. Before ending his speech, Mike emphasized that the main task of a football player is to finish the game. Whatever happens, the club that can survive until the end of the match will be the winner. Mike's story is part of the main story that will be told in this film, that is about Bennet Omalu, a forensic doctor who is an expert in various fields of medicine. At a murder trial, Dr. Bennet is asked to be an expert witness. He explained that he has expertise in the science of death, which is a science that studies the causes of a person's death. According to him, if we know how someone lives, then we can also understand how they die.
My specialty is the science of death.
During the trial, Bennet tried to convince the judge that the suspect was not the killer, even though he had the victim's blood on his hands. Based on the results of in-depth research, Bennet concluded that the blood came from the suspect's efforts to help the victim, not from killing him. He stressed that if the judge sentenced him to death, it would mean killing an innocent person.
If the state of Pennsylvania moves forward to execute, you will be killing an innocent man.
After that, Dr. Bennet returned to his routine as a forensic doctor. Upon arriving at the laboratory to perform the autopsy, one unique habit of Bennet's became apparent. Every time he dissected a corpse, he always spoke to the corpse, asking for help in revealing the cause of death. He also always listens to music while performing autopsies. Because of this unique habit, Bennet was often reprimanded by the head of the laboratory, Dr. Cyril. Some of his colleagues thought his habits were strange and felt uncomfortable seeing him talking to corpses. Dr. Cyril even advised Bennet to find a partner, because so far he has only been immersed in his work.
You need a girlfriend. You need to touch somebody alive every once in a while.
On the other hand, Mike Webster is seen living in poverty. He even neglected his family, even selling his awards just to meet his daily needs. It was at this time that his old teammate, Justin, came to see Mike to talk about the illness they were both suffering from. Mike admitted that the pain in his head was so severe that he couldn't stand it anymore. In fact, Mike even sniffed glue to get high just to ease the pain in his head. Meanwhile, Justin also often experiences memory problems. Before they parted, Mike, who had given up hope on his illness, spoke as if inviting Justin to end his life together. The next day, as Dr. Bennet was about to leave church, he was approached by the pastor, who asked him to meet a woman named Mutiso. Mutiso is a nurse from Kenya who is looking for a new place to live in America. Because Bennet had experienced hardships as a new immigrant to America, he decided to help Mutiso by temporarily taking him in until he found his own place. In fact, Dr. Bennet lent Mutiso money for his living expenses before he got a permanent job. On the other hand, Mike checks his condition with his former football team doctor, Dr. Julian. At that time, Mike looked very panicked. He begged Dr. Julian to cure the headaches that constantly tormented him. But when Dr. Julian performed a brain scan on Mike, the results showed that his brain looked normal and no disease was found. Hearing that, Mike was furious. How could such excruciating pain every second not indicate a disease? Eventually, every time Mike came, Dr. Julian could only give him painkillers. Until one night, Mike felt very frustrated with the disease he was suffering from. The pain in his head never subsided, until he finally decided to end his life. A few days later, Mike's death shocked the entire town, as Mike was a legend in the town.
What is going on, Mike Webster?
It turns out that Mike's body was handled by Dr. Cyril's laboratory, and it was Dr. Bennet who would perform the autopsy on Mike's body. As usual, before starting the autopsy, Dr. Bennet first spoke to Mike's body.
Mike, I need your help to tell the world what happened to you.
After that, the surgical process begins. For hours, Dr. Bennet diligently examined every organ of Mike's body. It took so long that one of the doctors in the room, who turned out to be a big fan of Mike, got angry because he couldn't bear to see his idol's body being cut up. However, Dr. Bennet continued his research process with full dedication. After finishing, he felt something was strange. No physical illness was found to explain Mike's death. Even though in medical records, Mike often complained of severe headaches. This made Dr. Bennet feel confused and curious at the same time. Suddenly, he felt as if he was hearing strange voices in his head. The voices he imagined were probably the torture Mike felt during his life. Because of this, Dr. Bennet decided to continue this research to a more in-depth level. He also promised, both to himself and to Mike's body, that he would reveal the truth behind this death to the end. Hearing this determination, Dr. Cyril reminded Bennet that what he was doing was a very noble task. Because if Bennet succeeds, Mike's good name can be cleared from the bad rumors that are spreading. Cyril also added that the success was important, because failure could damage the reputation of fellow doctors who had treated Mike. Moreover, is no ordinary person, he is a legend. After obtaining official permission from Dr. Cyril, further research officially began. Day after day passed. Dr. Bennet kept going back and forth to the Pittsburgh Steelers Club to observe and research the lifestyle and playing style of the football players there. He watched tape after tape of the game. There, he witnessed so many violent clashes between the players' heads. He tried to match all the theories in his head with the reality on the ground. Finally, after completing his research, Dr. Bennet visited the university laboratory where he had studied. There, he met Professor Stephen and some of his college friends. He also conveyed all the conclusions from his observations so far, especially regarding Mike Webster's brain condition. First, he discusses the capcanet or diving bird. This bird is capable of gliding at speeds of up to 75 miles per hour, and turns its body like a bullet before diving into the sea to catch fish. Second, the woodpecker. This creature can withstand up to 1,000 g-force or gravitational force. Woodpeckers peck trees as many as 12,000 times a day, or about 85 million times in their lifetime. Like other creatures, these birds have a natural dampening system in their bodies. When they peck, the woodpecker's tongue extends back and wraps around the entire brain to dampen the impact. But humans? No part of the human anatomy can protect the brain from repeated violent impacts. Dr. Bennet explains that humans can suffer a concussion at as little as 60 Gs. But do you know how much force football players experience when they collide? 100 Gs. By his calculations, From the time Mike Webster started playing football as a kid until he retired from his professional career, he had received more than 70,000 blows to his head. The impacts slowly caused microscopic leaks in his brain. This leak is what triggers hallucinations, emotional instability, strange voices in his head, even voices telling him to commit suicide. Dr. Bennet then concluded his explanation with the sentence, "God did not create humans to play football." After hearing all of Dr. Bennet's explanations, the professor was initially reluctant to respond because in America, almost everyone loves football, including himself. However, as a scientist, he felt a responsibility to convey the truth, even if it was bitter. Finally, they all agreed to publish the results of the research together in a scientific journal. Meanwhile, Justin Mike Webster's teammate and Pittsburgh Steelers legend was seen to be unable to bear the pain in his head any longer. Strange voices continued to haunt him. The voices ordered him to do bad things, even to his own wife and children. Finally, Justin decided to leave the house. But in the middle of the road, he crashed himself and died in a tragic accident. Meanwhile, Dr. Bennet, who was happy because his name was listed in the scientific journal, invited Mutiso to go somewhere. And that's where Dr. Bennet confessed his feelings for Mutiso. He proposed to her. Days passed again. Suddenly, the Pittsburgh Steelers club director looked very angry after reading Dr. Bennet's research journal. He immediately contacted the club's top brass and ordered them to take action to silence Dr. Bennet, because the research was considered to be able to destroy their business. Since then, terror after terror began to befall Dr. Bennet. Starting from the phone ringing non-stop, suspicious sounds from outside the house, and other disturbances. The terror did not only come from the Pittsburgh Steelers club people who felt their business was threatened, but also from the people of Pittsburgh itself. Because for them, football is everything more than just a sport. It is pride. One day, Dr. Bennet received a call from Dr. Julian. Dr. Julian is the doctor who treated Mike Webster at the beginning of the story. In the conversation, Dr. Julian invited Dr. Bennet to his house because he had something important to say. Upon arrival, Dr. Julian spoke straight away, without any further ado. He admits that he and other sports doctors have long known about the brain damage caused by football long before Dr. Bennet published his findings. But they all chose to remain silent. Because they realize, even though football is detrimental to the health of its players, on the other hand, sport is also a source of livelihood for tens of thousands of people. Now, as a former club doctor, Dr. Julian feels a moral responsibility to save the players whom he has come to consider his own family. Because for years, he was the one who always took care of them and checked on them. Dr. Julian stated that he would fully support Dr. Bennet, whatever the risk. But he also warned that Dr. Bennet's struggle would not be easy, because now he must fight against the giants of the sports industry, who have great power to silence him. Time passed, and one by one the retired football legends began to pass away. To date, Dr. Bennett's laboratory has handled 4 cases. Mike Webster, Terry Long, Andre Waters, and Justin Strzelczyk, all found with severe brain damage. These 4 cases mean that the Pittsburgh Steelers club can no longer deny the reality. Dr. Bennett's team's position is now stronger, even against a club as big as the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now is the time to fight back. The next day, Dr. Bennet and Dr. Julian meet with Dr. Maroon, president of the Congress of Neurologists from the Pittsburgh Steelers club. They presented all the evidence and asked for cooperation to expose the dark side of the football world. But Dr. Maroon refused. Even though he acknowledged the fact, revealing it would be tantamount to destroying the economy of thousands, even millions of people who depend on this sport for their livelihood. Dr. Bennet continues to plead, because if players are allowed to continue playing without knowing the risks, then after retirement, they could die from severe brain damage. All this, said Dr. Bennet, he did for humanity.
Your men continue to die. Their families left in ruins. Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
But when the day of the press conference arrived, Dr. Bennet lost. At the conference, club officials stated that the 4 deaths were caused by other causes such as car accidents and swimming incidents. They managed to convince the media that the brain damage had nothing to do with football. After the defeat, the pressure on Dr. Bennet increased. His wife was terrorized, his boss was arrested on fraud charges, and the pressures kept coming. Finally, Dr. Bennet gave up and decided to move to California. But on the day he was ready to leave town, sad news came: his wife had a miscarriage. 3 years have passed. Now, Dr. Bennet lives quietly in California with his wife and adorable son. Their life is peaceful away from the spotlight, away from the pressure. However, one day, another Pittsburgh Steelers legend, Dave Dirksen, seemed unable to bear the pain in his head and the voices that continued to haunt him. Ultimately, Dave Dirksen committed suicide. Shortly afterward, Dr. Julian called Dr. Bennet to tell him the news. It turns out that before committing suicide, Dave left a will stating that he believed in Dr. Bennet's findings and donated his brain for research. With all the evidence at hand, the club could no longer deny the truth. The Pittsburgh Steelers officially acknowledged Dr. Bennett's research findings and invited him to share the truth openly. In the middle of his speech, from a distance, Dr. Bennet saw the spirit of Mike Webster smiling. Finally, all those tormented souls can rest in peace. And the movie ends. Thank you for watching. don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. May you always be healthy. See you in the next interesting story. And don't forget to be happy.